All right, thank you. Mr. Noonan, that concludes the defendant's opening statement. Mr. Chapin, the plaintiff ready to call our first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. We call the plaintiff, Mary Beth Burns.
All right.
Do you solemnly state that the evidence you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated at the witness stand.
Thank you.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Mary Elizabeth Burns, B-U-R-N-S.
Ms. Burns, you can move the mic over, it might be easier. All right, Mr. Chapin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
That monitor is a little bit in the way there. Can you see me okay?
I can.
All right, thank you very much. Let's talk about your background. And, you know, I know you as Coach Burns. Is it okay if I call you Coach Burns?
Please.
All right. Coach, let's talk about your background. Where'd you grow up?
New Jersey.
And during your youth, did athletics play any role in it?
Very much so.
And what sports did you play?
Everything at that time. Anything you could run, hit, climb, or throw, we pretty much did. There was not a lot of organized. This was before girls could do stuff in an organized fashion before I got to high school, but pretty active. A household of all daughters, so we all were sports fanatics.
All right. After high school, did you go to college?
I did.
Where?
Ohio Wesleyan University in Delaware, Ohio.
Now, can you kind of focus us on what Delaware, Ohio is relative to some larger city?
It's about 25 miles away from Columbus.
Okay. What did you study at Ohio Wesleyan?
Health and physical education. Teaching certificate.
When you went to Ohio Wesleyan, what was your goal or your dream to come away from that experience with?
Well, I think each level I went, I've always wanted to teach. My mind was only, I wanted to be a high school coach and teacher, and then I got to college and expanded that to aspiring to be a college coach and teacher.
Did you graduate from Ohio Wesleyan?
I did.
And your degree was in?
Health and physical education.
Okay. While you were at Ohio Wesleyan, did you play any sports?
Yes, I played basketball and softball.
And which was your best sport?
Basketball was my passion. I probably had a little more skill in softball, but basketball was my passion.
Okay. And did you, well, it's tough. What position did you play on your basketball team?
I was a power forward. I was, in 1979, you were bigger.
Okay. So you played basketball at Ohio Wesleyan, and while you were playing basketball, did you receive any awards?
Well, in those days, it was before there was an NCAA, and so all there was either a small college or a large college. So you couldn't enter into the NCAA tournament or do any of the things that we have the opportunity to do now. So we did some small college things and had a fantastic experience, and I'm proud to say I'm in their Athletics Hall of Fame.
Okay. What does that mean?
Well, I think it means that I had a successful athletics career while I was at Ohio Wesleyan.
How long after you graduated was it before they inducted you into that Hall of Fame?
I can't recall exactly yet. It was, you have to wait a certain amount of time to be considered, and at that time I was asked and inducted.
Now, after you got out of undergraduate school, what'd you do?
Well, I applied to about every high school, I think, in America the old-fashioned way, by letters and writing, and ended up being offered a position at my alma mater at Ohio Wesleyan as an assistant basketball coach and as an assistant softball coach, and accepted that position and began my master's.
Where did you study for your master's?
at The Ohio State University.
Did you get your master's?
I did.
After how long?
2 years.
So you get your master's degree from the Ohio State University. I've never understood, why do they say the Ohio State University? Do you know?
I'm from New Jersey, but everybody said it, so I did too.
Okay. Okay. So, after you got your master's, what did you do?
Well, I had a great opportunity. My first year, as I said, I worked at Ohio Wesleyan, and then my second year had an opportunity to be a then graduate assistant coach in women's basketball. Again, we're talking about the early 80s. Women's basketball only had one full-time assistant, and I was able to get a lot of hands-on experience as a graduate assistant in the year that I was completing my master's degree.
Right. And did you eventually enter the college coaching ranks?
Yes, I immediately following my graduation in '81, my first position was an assistant coach at East Carolina University in Greenville, North Carolina.
So just walk us through, if you will, your coaching career before you came to San Diego State in 1989 the first time?
Yes.
All right.
I was
at East Carolina, and you were there for how long? And then
in 1983, and then I went to the University of Colorado at Boulder. Head coach Seal Berry had been a coach in the Midwest when I was at Ohio State, and she offered me an assistant coaching job at University of Colorado. I was there till '88, and then had an opportunity to go back to the South to NC State University to work at NC State under the late great Kay Yao, and fully intended to stay at NC State, but at that time San Diego State had contacted me and offered me a head coaching position. So that was my kind of assistant coaching apprenticeship prior to that.
For those who may not know who the late great Kay Yao is, will you tell us?
Kay Yao is a legendary coach in our game in women's basketball. She passed away from breast cancer 6 years ago. She's a gold medal Olympic coach in 1988. Ironically, my current boss, Cynthia Cooper at USC, was on that 1988 Olympic team, which is how I met her and had an opportunity to be in the position that I am now. Coach Yao dedicated her entire life to women's athletics, women's basketball specifically, and is one of the most beloved figures in our game. Hence, when she got breast cancer, which she battled for about 24 years before she finally succumbed, we as a coaching group wanted to do something in her honor, as did Coach Yao when she knew her days were limited. So we created an organization, the Kay Yao Cancer Fund, and you may have seen in February on TV lots of people playing in pink. That all came from the Women's Basketball Coaches Association.
Are you involved in excuse me, in the Kay Yao Foundation in any way?
Yes, I'm actually on their board of directors.
So in '89, you come to the San Diego State University. Tell me about how that came about. Did you apply? Were you recruited? What happened?
No, I mean, you don't really apply in the coaching business. Being Coach Yao's assistant was definitely something that helped me. Ironically, I've had great tutelage. 3 of the people that I've worked for have Olympic gold medals. So coming off Coach Yao's Olympic experience put me, I guess, to the forefront of assistant coaches. And San Diego State, a woman by the name of Jane Hancock and Dr. Fred Miller were the administration at the time, contacted me and asked me to interview for the position.
All right. You got it.
I did.
All right. You know, what's it like being a head coach? Can you tell us? You've done it for a long time. Can you give us an overview of what that experience is like?
I think it's difficult. I know several people have some kind of coaching experience in their background, whether it's t-ball or little league or soccer or with your kids. I think the uniqueness and the joy of being in college, or the aggravation depending on the day, is you have 18 to 22-year-olds who are away from home for the first time. There's a lot of growing up that happens when people get away from home for the first time and have to experience lots of different things. And as a college basketball coach, you pretty much get to play every role, and our parents trust that you'll help their daughters succeed, not only on the basketball court, but beyond and everything else.
When you are recruiting a player, can you tell us some of the things, some of the key things that you tell the players that you commit to do for them?
Well, you know, the beauty of basketball is that there's just a lot of different ways to play it. So I think the first thing is you want to identify people that fit the things that you want to do, what the scheme is that you do. And then are they people who want to succeed, people who have character, people who we feel would be admissible and have the opportunity to be successful and be able to graduate from San Diego State.
Now, you heard some comments a while ago about you being focused solely on winning. Was winning everything to you?
Well, I think it depends on how you coach winning. You know, you're coaching a person, and you want them to win in every aspect of their life. And, you know, you ask what it's like being a coach. You're a little bit of everything when you're a coach. And it's not the wins and the losses are how we're measured. I had a university president, Dr. Steve Weber, who said to me, I couldn't imagine every time I tried to publish it be on the front page folded above the paper if I got rejected. But that's what we choose. There's a difference between pressure and there's a difference between stress. And you get an opportunity to help people reach their goals. They come in bright-eyed and they want to accomplish certain things. And your responsibility is to help put them in a position to do just that.
Are you talking about just on the basketball court, or are you talking about beyond that?
No, it's hard to separate the two. Basketball's their passion. We just talked about, I don't like to think I'm that old, however, I didn't have an opportunity to get a scholarship to go to college. So one of the first really cool things is their passion enables them to get room, board, books, tuition, and fees. It enables them to get a scholarship and an opportunity that perhaps wouldn't have been there had they not had their athletic skills. So passion for their sport is one part of it. But a big part of it, and as we get to know them through the recruiting process without getting too tedious, is what do you think you want to be when you grow up? And if we all think about when we're 16, 17, 18, how many times did that change from when we're 18 to when we're 19, 20, 21, 22? So it's the whole person, all the highs and lows and dramas that an 18 to 22-year-old young woman goes through on a daily basis when they go away to school.
What about academics? How important is academics to you as a head women's basketball coach?
Well, it's the most important thing in a collegiate institution is to make sure that you have an opportunity to get your degree. And I'm very proud of what my staff and I have been able to accomplish with all of our student athletes, regardless of the stop, to make sure that they got their degree. It wasn't always what they intended it to be and when they first came in, but academic success is a huge part of that, and it was important for us to identify people that we thought could be successful.
Do you know the graduation rate of your teams over the years?
Well, I heard a percentage that was quoted. I do know that everyone who has competed for us for 4 years has graduated. Everyone. If they've competed for 4 years.
Okay. Have you followed your players' lives and careers, or some of them beyond when they were playing ball for you or attending San Diego State?
Very much so. That's the best part. The longer, the more separation there is, the smarter you get. So it gets pretty good as they get a little bit older. But that's why you do what you do.
And what are some of the careers these players have gone on to?
Oh, I have I'll start in San Diego. Firefighters, academic counselors, social workers, policemen, teachers, coaches, broadcasters, business, accountants, CPAs. I go through the laundry list. I don't think I have any lawyers, Ed.
Okay. Now, when you have a program like you have at San Diego State, you have a function that's called academic support.
Yes.
What role in your mind was academic support supposed to play?
There's a two-pronged, probably initial thing that people need to understand is that there's admissibility and there's eligibility, and they're two really different things. You can fulfill one and not the other. So black and white, one of the first areas that an athletics academic advisory department does is ensures that all the NCAA regulations, the normal progress, the things that perhaps a university academic admissions counselor wouldn't know because they don't have to adhere to the same kind of standards. So the first thing is kind of the eligibility index, and then beyond that, it's tutoring, mentoring, learning specialists, assisting them with the travel that happens when you're a competitive athlete. You're going to miss class, you're going to be away from campus, kind of the liaison as a coach. You have relationships with professors, but never directly with professors of your students, if that makes sense. So this is a really, really critical position in any athletics department because they are the people that help your people and give you feedback as to how your people are doing throughout their academic career.
To keep them eligible to play?
And on track to graduate.
Okay. What's one of the functions that, an important function that academic support plays in supporting your team?
I'm sorry?
A function that that academic support plays. How do they accomplish this goal that you just talked about, to keep these kids eligible, keep them on track for graduation? What do they do?
Well, before they come in, we set up phone conversations if they're not close by, or try to have them be a part of their on-campus recruit visit so they can get to know each other, talk about what their goals are, what they want to be interested in academically, and help them start to plan their curriculum, and then on a regular basis be able to stay on top of what they're doing to see what their needs are, to see if they need tutorial help.
Earlier you saw the laundry list up there, and one of the categories, and I want to paraphrase it, I'm not quoting it verbatim, but was basically academic support and tutoring. Was tutoring a function that you expected the academic support folks to provide at San Diego State?
Yes.
Now, you've got 18 to 22-year-olds who have different goals, different ambitions, come from different backgrounds. Is it easy, or was it easy for you as a head coach to get them to study, to get them to go to class and do the things they were supposed to do academically to succeed?
Well, I think like anything else, no two people are the same. So it's hard to paint that answer with a broad brush. We tried to do the best job we could from a recruiting standpoint to balance maybe a higher risk student athlete that didn't have as much, didn't come from as good of a academic preparatory background. Whether you come from a private school or a public school would make a difference, to assess so we could balance that we had enough that we could service to make sure that you'd be successful.
Okay. Did you connect with or talk to or confer with the academic support folks at San Diego State during your time there?
Yes.
And did you have issues with the academic support function at San Diego State during your tenure?
Yes.
Tell me about some of those issues that you had with them.
Well, I'm going to start with this scenario. when I first arrived at San Diego State, and I hope you all can appreciate I have lots and lots of players, and I'm not really comfortable saying anybody's name. I don't really know how that works, but I just am not comfortable, so I'll just say student athletes. Some are really good stories, and some are not as good as this trial proceeds. But when I first got to San Diego State in '05, there was only 6 or 7 athletes that were left on the team by the time I was hired, and an athlete who looked like a pretty good athlete, matter of fact, her sister was a track Olympian, came into my office and shook my hand. I had been on the job less than a month, and she said, "Coach, I really appreciate you talking to us and motivating us. I'm sorry I'm not going to be on your team." And she was young, I believe around a sophomore. I said, "Well, why aren't you going to be on my team?" It was rather sad. And she said, "Because I'm flunking out." And I said, "What do you mean you're flunking out?" She said, "Well, I had to achieve such and such in order to remain in the university, and I'm about to flunk out." And I said, "Well, look, I just got here, but most schools, you at least have some kind of summer vehicle to, can you at least attempt in summer school to improve," shit was a GPA issue, "can you improve your GPA issue in order to be able to come back in the fall?" She goes, "Well, gosh, I don't know." I said, "Well, I don't even know you beyond you coming in here to shake my hand. Should I stick my neck out for you?" And she said, "You really should." And I said, "Why?" She goes, "I don't know, but I don't know what else to say, so you really should." I remember it really vividly because this is a really, kind of one of the really fun stories. So I said, "Okay, so let me go find out what's going on. You go down to your academic advisor and see if you can go to summer school." So, long story, she comes back, yes, she can go to summer school. So I get the current academic advisor, her name was Bree White, and I asked Bree to come down, and Bree and this athlete and myself, I said, "Look, you haven't done really well since you first came here, so this is the deal. For the next 2 summer sessions, you're going to go to class, you're going to get up, you're going to train, you're going to eat breakfast, you're going to go to class, and then every time you're not in class or not eating breakfast or lunch, you're going to be down the hall in the computer room, and you can't leave till 5 o'clock every day. Train at 7 a.m., 5 o'clock every day." I made her sign it. She said, "Okay." And, you know, I guess they had not had a summer school opportunity in the past. No one had asked for summer for women's basketball. So she signs her contract. She goes, and 2 or 3 days in, counselors are coming down. "Coach, she doesn't really have a lot to study. She's doing good. Can she go home early?" I'd say no. She was about to flunk out. It's the first week. Make her stay. Find something for her to read. And this went back and forth, and by the end of the summer, she'd gotten an A in both her classes. She was readmitted back into the university, and the following year, her junior year, she was awarded the most improved student athlete at the university, and by her senior year of eligibility, she was in a master's program. So that's what academic support is.
Okay. Did you push for students to take easy courses so that they wouldn't be challenged academically, or were you one who wanted them to get into tougher courses so that they could learn more?
Objection, this is leading. Sustained.
Well, what about the challenges for students? Did you have any view of what types of courses they should be taking?
Yes, in that, because we recruited them and had been to their home and had visited with their parents, we had an idea, at least at that time, what they thought they wanted to go into. And if you remember, I said admissibility and eligibility. So if you take classes, if you start to put together a bunch of classes that aren't leading to what you think you want to major in, then you can't pursue that major because you will be ineligible to compete. I hate to be confusing. You could have very good grades, but you have to have normal progress towards a degree. So we did have constant challenges with our academic advisors to listen to what the student athletes said initially, and then not to have them come back to us and say, "Coach, They said that major's too hard. They said this is too hard. They said this class is too hard. They said I should take this. And I said, well, you should challenge yourself and do that. But it put us in a tricky position of not usurping someone's authority, and that was a struggle for us.
Explain that struggle.
Well, you have a professional that's telling them that
The professional is whom?
in this case it was, well, an academic advisor.
Okay. All right. So explain what the challenge was. Were there conflicts with you and the academic folks?
Yeah, I mean, in several areas. That's one of them. In advising students to, if they're not doing well in a class, to focus on the other classes so they can do well in them and go ahead and flunk this class. And I don't think it's good to ever advise someone, please don't ever advise someone to just flunk a class. If they're going to have to take it again, at least have them go, and if they can't be successful, they're paying money to go to that class. Please don't have people take incompletes. Make them state a task.
Did you ever have, or do you recall an incident where you and the academic advisor disagreed relative to a course that a student should pursue?
Yes.
And who was the academic advisor?
That would be Bree White.
What is that event that you recall?
Well, we had a student athlete whose mom was a nurse and was very interested in her. She wanted her to be in the health field. She didn't really, basketball was a vehicle. She was a very good basketball player, but basketball was her vehicle to get her degree. And we had told the mom and the student from jump that there's lots of different areas in the health field. Our nursing program is very competitive. We can't promise that you're going to be able to get into nursing, but you can stay within the health fields, and it explained all that. And one night I'm driving home and I have a mom calling me irate, asking me why her daughter had a different major.
Okay. And did you know about that?
No, I did not.
So what did you do when you learned that?
Well, I listened to the mom. I told her I don't really know. I don't want to misspeak. I was under the impression that she was in the health field. It's 10 o'clock at night. I'll find out in the morning and I'll follow up with you when I get more information.
Did you talk to anybody the next day?
Yeah, I talked to Coach Reese on my staff and said, do you know anything about this? And she said, no, let me go talk to Bree White and find out.
Okay. And then did you ultimately talk to Bree White about that or not?
On that specific issue, not at that moment, but we've discussed it, yes.
Why was that, going beyond academic support, were there things that or not, that you did with your team off the basketball court, outside the arena, in the community?
Yeah, we did, and I think just to tie up Mr. Chapin, the academic support, because we did those things, because we traveled, because we did a lot of things off the court, it became challenging if the only assigned times to tutor, if you will, were the night that we had a basketball game. And it would, after the fact, we'd come to find, if a student athlete is told your tutoring is Wednesday at 7, they should say, well, I have a game, but they don't. They just know that because they're excused to go to a game. So a lot of these after affected things at the end of the day were challenging. So forgive me, I didn't answer your question.
No, but did you have that situation that
Yes.
you just described?
Yes.
And what did you do about that?
Well, the challenge is when you find out academic situations, you can't get the tutoring session back. You can't get that stuff back when you find out the next day. Everybody can, report that the student athlete wasn't there, but we had to go back to the drawing board and make sure that people were set up and going to tutoring and on Sundays and Mondays when they wouldn't miss classes. I mean, we have a really strong math requirement at San Diego State that for athletes requires them to finish it in their first year. if you don't get a certain test score, you have to take this math class. This math class you don't get any credit for. You just have to show proficiency in it. It was a challenge for a lot of our athletes. So we started with them in the summer, and if they had three tries at it, and if they didn't finish it, they'd have to leave the university. And it would be frustrating after the first try where someone wasn't successful that we'd start on their second session of the same math, and I'd say, do we have tutoring tonight? No, we're not going to start tutoring till about the third week of the semester. So, well, I'm not sure why that is. Well, because they're just getting started. So, but they flunked it the last time, and we know they need the tutor now. We don't need to assess it. So these were just some of the issues.
You feel that, or do you not feel that there were conflicts created between you and the academic support folks in dealing with these issues?
Sure, there were conflicts. I mean, it was not that everybody was on the same side. You know, everybody was well-meaning, everybody was well-intentioned. I'm hard-pressed to tell you that anybody was not. It was more a matter of the standards that we were trying to set and accomplish, and didn't feel that they were always being followed through and met.
By whom?
By people in the academic area.
You've got a very strong voice, standing here listening to you. And how would you describe yourself in terms of your interpersonal connections or communications with people? Are you a beat around the bush person, or are you
I think that has been determined. I would tell you that I'm very direct. I think things through. Everybody has different strengths and things that they need to improve on. I think one of my strengths has always been my preparation. You know, I was never the fastest, the strongest, the best looking, but I was the plugger. You know, I was going to keep on plugging. And I tried to really, really prepare so I could be really clear with what are expected, whether that's teaching a student on the basketball court, or whether that's expectations you had for people in and around your program.
Would you have any hesitancy to speak up about things that you think aren't right?
No, you know, I think it's important to stand up for what you believe in, and you know, it's a lot easier to fight for other people than it is to fight for yourself. But at the end of the day, I've been a basketball coach my whole life, and if I didn't stand up for myself, then everything that I've tried to impart upon them for the last 25 plus years would be a farce. So here we are.
Let's go back to community activities. Did you do any community activities with your team or not?
Well, I think it's important. I spoke to, just in a really short period of time, the opportunity that women are able to have, and I think little girls need big girls to look up to. And so we had several relationships that we were able to establish. One of my favorites is with the Girl Scouts. And our team was connected with the San Diego Girl Scouts, 30,000 strong. They had a race every year that our team would go to Balboa Park and interact with different troops and stuff their goodie bags, and then we'd go and we'd run the race or marshal the race or do whatever they needed us to do, and had a lot of back and forth with bringing them to our games and things like that. So that was one way that we were out in the community, and hopefully letting young girls see that it's good to be big and strong and healthy as role models. On the other end of the spectrum, we had a wonderful experience that came around as kind of could have been a negative experience with what's called the Senior Women's Basketball Association. I wasn't aware of it till I came to San Diego, and a woman called our office and said that she'd ordered her season tickets and they never came. And this was in April.
Season tickets to what?
A basketball game, one of our basketball games, or to our basketball games, and the season tickets never came. And I remember asking my ops, it's April.
I'm going to object to this one. This is non-responsive.
Non-responsive.
Seems to be non-responsible.
Okay, let's Let's focus here, Coach, just a minute. I realize there's a lot of stuff, but let's just try to stay within the question, and then we'll get into these things, okay? All right. So you're talking about the...
Senior women?
About
No.
community involvement, okay? And you told us about the Girl Scouts. Now, were there other things, other types of activities that you did with your team in the community or not?
We gave a clinic every year for the Senior Women's Basketball Association. Members were from 55 to the oldest was in their late 80s that we did. We brought them over to the arena, did a clinic every year, and then had them play 3-on-3 at our games at halftime. We were involved with Star Pal and different youth, at-risk youth, where our athletes would go out in the community and
Go ahead.
both myself and staff and students would go out into the community and mentor what the SDPD had targeted as at-risk youth, so they would pair them up with athletes on our team.
What is Star Pal?
Star Pal is an organization. I don't know exactly what all the STAR is. It's the Police Athletic League. It's one of the organizations within the Police Athletic League.
And it focuses on at-risk youth, is that what it is?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you do these things in the community with your team?
Well, we obviously tried to protect for them from like October to March, because that's when their practice, competition, and academic schedule pretty much kept it full. So we did a lot of things early fall, and then focused on mostly the season. We did a lot of stuff around the holidays when we were out of school but still on campus, because we did Shop with the Jock and things like that downtown. And then after the season, we did a lot of these events, reading for literacy, lots of things throughout the summer.
Why did you do that?
Well, I think you should embrace the community that you're in, for one. I think it's an opportunity for role modeling for young girls. I think it was wonderful for the young women on your team that, understand that they're really valuable, and how they behave and act and the things that they do, they have little eyes upon them. So it's all part of helping to shape someone on their way to graduation.
Mr. Chapin, I think we're probably at that time. Would this be a good time to break?
It would perfect.
Perfect. Good. That's what we want, perfection. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to break a little early today, as I said. Tomorrow we will start promptly at 9 o'clock. Remember the admonition, do not discuss any aspect of the case with anybody, go to any independent investigation. If you happen to come across some media coverage, don't get involved. That would be inappropriate. Take care of yourselves, and as I said, once the bailiff counts to 14 tomorrow, we start, so be here promptly at 9 o'clock. Have a good night. Thank you. See you tomorrow.